Today, we're going to examine an idea that's meant to fundamentally challenge how we see the world. It asks us to just set aside everything we think we know and to look at political theory through a very different and, frankly, a pretty unsettling lens.
So, what is political theory? It seems like a simple enough question, right? It's a term you hear all the time. In college, on the news, whenever people talk about how society works. We all have a kind of general idea of what it means, but what if that general idea isn't just a little bit off, but is actually fundamentally wrong? The source for this explainer doesn't beat around the bush. It opens with this incredibly bold, straightforward statement. It's not suggesting a new way to look at things, it's making the direct claim that what we all think is just incorrect. And that really sets the stage for a complete teardown of the concept.
So before we can really dig into this new argument, we first have to be really clear about the idea that's being taken apart. What is this common and supposedly wrong understanding of political theory?
This is probably what comes to mind for most of us, right? Political theory is, the academic study of government, of big ideologies like socialism or liberalism. It's about different types of regimes, historical movements, and the great thinkers of political philosophy. We see it as a field of knowledge, almost like a science. Just hold that thought in your mind because we are about to take a very sharp turn.
Okay, so now the author takes that academic definition and replaces it with something much more raw, something they frame as being more based in reality. The focus is about to shift from studying things to doing things.
And there it is. In this view, political theory isn't the study of power. It's the activity of competing for power itself. It's the messy, real-world struggle between groups, whether they're religious sects, political parties, or even family clans. All of a sudden, it's not some detached academic thing. It's the very engine of human social competition. And if you look at it through this lens, all those complex books and big isms we study, they become a mix of just two things: justifications that powerful people use to explain why they're in charge, and, intellectual puzzles created by thinkers who just enjoy thinking about them. So, in other words, it's a mix of propaganda and a hobby. Now this is a really fascinating and powerful way to think about it. If political theory isn't a science, then what is it? The author argues it's an art form, an act of pure creation. And this metaphor perfectly captures the core argument about its relationship to the real world.
This chart really lays the comparison out for us. On the left, you've got art. Artists use reality to create fiction. And on the right, political theories do the exact same thing. Both of them, according to the author, spring from our imagination. But here's the crucial difference. Look at who uses them. For art, it's artists. For political theories, it's political parties and other groups that are seeking power. This changes everything. It reframes ideologies not as truths we discover, but as fictions that are used as tools.
So, if we accept this idea, even for a moment, that political theories are more like works of art than works of science, then that raises a very, very serious question about what they're actually for. What happens when we mistake a piece of fiction for a factual blueprint? And the author asks this question point blank. If these are all just elaborate stories and justifications, what is their purpose? Do they actually help us build a better world? The answer we're given is pretty stark. The assessment is just blunt, and it's sobering. For the grand project of building a functional society, these theories are basically useless. It's like trying to build a skyscraper using a beautiful but structurally flawed blueprint. It might look good on paper, but it offers very little of real, practical value. But it's actually worse than just being useless. The author draws a direct line between our entire history, this constant cycle of making progress and then falling into disaster, and our reliance on these artistic, unscientific theories. The implication here is that we keep building our societies on fictional foundations, and then we act surprised when they turn out to be unstable. And so we arrive at a very direct warning. This is really the key takeaway from the entire critique. Sure, you can study these theories the same way you might study a novel or a painting, but you should never, ever mistake them for scientific truth, or worse, use them as a practical guide for governing actual human lives. Now, after tearing everything down so completely, the author doesn't just leave us with nothing. A new path forward is proposed, a way to move out of this world of art and fiction and into something genuinely scientific. The whole analogy shifts here. We're moving away from art and into something more like farming. Think about it. To be a good farmer, you first have to understand the plant. That's your fundamental knowledge.
And then you have to decide on your goal. Are you trying to grow fruit, or leaves, or roots? The argument is that managing a human society needs that same practical, goal-oriented way of thinking.
So this new proposed method gets broken down into two really essential steps. Step 1, we have to gain a real high-precision understanding of human beings ourselves. And step 2, we have to clearly define our goal. What is the actual objective of our society? What kind of outcomes are we trying to produce?
This quote it sums up the entire diagnosis so perfectly. Humanity has become masters of the science of the outside world, physics, chemistry, biology, you name it. But we have completely failed to apply that same rigorous scientific mindset to understanding our own nature. And according to this source, that is the fundamental problem we have to solve. This whole analysis doesn't end with a neat little summary. Instead, it turns the entire argument outward, and it poses a series of pretty tough questions directly to us. It asks us to really think about our own understanding and our own potential role in creating this new approach.
Think about that question for a second. It completely reframes our entire history. It suggests that all our wars, our political failures, our ideological battles, maybe they're not the mistakes of a mature species. Maybe they're just the clumsy, stumbling mistakes of a child that hasn't yet figured itself out. And so this is where we're left, with these questions. And they aren't just things to ponder. They're presented as a real call to action. They ask if we've actually done the hard work of understanding ourselves. And, maybe most provocatively of all, they ask if we are willing to be the ones to pioneer a true, effective science of society. It's a profound challenge, really, to move beyond the art of the past and to finally begin the science of the future.